What is the best age to join consulting? I'm asked this all the time, and because it's consulting, the answer is, it depends. Hope you've enjoyed this video. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Okay. Joking aside, let me answer the question. You might not all like the answer, but for me, I think it's the truth. Of course, you can join consulting at any age, and people do. Maybe you make a career change later in life, or you start in consulting, you go out to industry and you boomerang back to consulting. Hence my answer, it depends. But what age can you join consulting wasn't the question. It was, what's the best age to join consulting? And that has a very specific answer. You have two entry points into consulting. Firstly, as a graduate straight out of uni, where you'd typically be known as an analyst. And secondly, as an experienced hire, where you've typically had a job or two before. Which, by the way, is how I came into consulting. But to answer the question of which age is best, actually, the two aren't so far apart. I'm going to start by just straight up giving you the answer, which is, in my opinion, the best age to join consulting is 22, 23, as an experienced hire, but straight after a previous grad program. Now that's a very specific answer to what is frankly a very specific question, so let me justify why. Firstly, consulting graduate programs are extremely competitive. Now that's no secret and is also no reason not to do it that way. But at some point you're playing a numbers game, and my view is to always work smarter, not harder. Because not only is it competitive to get in, it's competitive once you're in as well. Now, most big consulting firms tend to have quite big graduate intakes, and they might be at multiple times in the year. Similarly, most big consulting firms don't just give analysts promotions from A1 to A2, whatever your firm is calling their grading of analysts. You have to earn the promotion, just like everybody else in the firm has to earn their promotion. So when you're going against a very big cohort, and let's be honest, most people who go for promotion at that stage, when they go up for it, they are genuinely ready, but you've got such a big cohort that you're just playing basically a numbers game, and at that point you need a fair bit of luck to enter as well. Work smarter, not harder, put luck in your favour, go against a smaller cohort, come as an experienced hire. That's why I think I played it the best possible way. I always knew that I wanted to go into consulting, I just wasn't quite sure when. So I did a graduate programme in industry, and I used those 2 years to hone transferable consulting skills that I knew would benefit me whenever I wanted to go into consulting. It just happened to be a bit sooner than I thought it was going to be. What I then did was spotted a senior analyst opening in Accenture, applied for it, and well, the rest is history. The second reason that you want to come to consulting as an experienced hire, but still in your early 20s, is salary. Now, people find money an awkward thing to talk about, but here on this channel, completely honest, so we're going to tackle this topic head on. The reality is that as a graduate, all graduates will start on the same starting salary, and there is really no room for negotiation, unless there's some really extreme circumstance. Therefore, when you get promoted out of a graduate program, all graduates typically start on the same or very, very similar consultant starting salaries. But outside of graduate programs, all roles will have an upper and lower boundary of salary. When you get promoted out of a consulting graduate program, you don't have an opportunity to make the most of this because you don't really negotiate. There will be extreme examples, but on average, you get what you're given. When you come as an experienced hire, you can make the most of the fact that there is a boundary. So I joined Accenture as a senior analyst, and that meant that, look, I made the most of that boundary when I joined. So what happened is I got a bigger package for a smaller fight. It's all about smarter, not harder, people. And since we're doing controversial topics, let's do another one. Working hours. So far, I've answered what stage is best to come into consulting, but you could do that at any age. So why specifically 22, 23, early 20s. And for me, it's working hours. I think it's fair to say that big consulting firms these days typically have fewer extreme working hours than they used to. But it's also true that we in consulting work longer than our industry colleagues. A typical consultant at a typical big consulting firm can expect to work anywhere between 50 and 70 hours a week. At peak times, it's going to look more like 70 and beyond, and if you're in an MBB firm, well, 70 is probably a quiet week for you. This is the point at which I get cancelled for massively overgeneralizing this. But the bottom line is that working these types of hours is a lot easier when you're younger. Your body finds it easier to be able to handle the stresses, strains, and sleep deprivation of working those crazy hours. And carrying on the massive overgeneralizations, people in their early 20s typically have fewer obligations than people a bit older. Now, don't get me wrong, it's absolutely possible to have a very successful career in consulting and be a carer, have children, whatever it is. But the point is, it is easier when you don't have that, because it is easier to be selfish and you feel fewer consequences of your choices. On average, the age at which that is available to you is closer to the early 20s than, say, your early 40s or 50s. Please, don't get me wrong. Everyone's circumstances are unique. I'm not trying to discount anyone. I'm not hating on going to consulting straight out of uni. There are lots of benefits to turning up as a grad. The first of those is the training. Typically, when you arrive in a big consulting firm's graduate program, you'll get to go on some kind of consulting analyst school. And that could be anywhere between 2 and 6 weeks, where effectively it's a crash course in everything you need to know about consulting to prepare you for your first role, your first engagement, and just life in the firm in general. Obviously, as an experienced hire, you kind of have to learn that the hard way, and you're expected to turn up knowing those core consulting skills. Which means if, like me, you've come from industry into consulting as an experienced hire, at the beginning it can feel a bit like drinking from the fire hose, to be honest. And actually, some of that training support that you get as a graduate, both when you start and throughout the graduate program, can be extremely helpful. Secondly is the support network. Your intake of grads is typically known as the start group. And from what I hear, people who enter consulting as a grad form these lifelong friendships and bonds with their start group that goes way beyond even just the firm. 20, 30 years later, people are often still friends with their start group, and you never know how that network might serve you in the future. When you come as an experienced hire, you might be the only person in your area to be joining, so you don't get any of that. So I promised a specific answer to a specific question, and if you haven't gathered it already, here it is. The best age to join consulting is 22, 23, 24. Your early 20s, basically. Whether you come as a graduate or you come as an experienced hire, ultimately, that's for you to decide. I hope you found this video useful. If you have, please give it a thumbs up, subscribe for more content like this, and please share your opinion to the question in the comments down below. I'm aware it's kind of controversial, so let's see what answers we get. We'll see you in the next one.